My name is Dane Upton, and this is my story. Growing up, I had a good childhood. I come from a good home. I had everything that I needed. I was taught good manners. I was taught my yes pleases and my no thank yous and all that type of thing. But I was a mischievous little child. I was not so much mischievous, but I tended to get pulled into the wrong crowd a lot of the time. Often in trouble at school, or by the age of 9, I was bunking school with friends and shoplifting and just things like that. But I was a happy kid. I had everything I needed. I had a lot of friends. I had a lot of so my childhood was good. A lot of smiles in it. A lot of hidings, but I had a lot of smiles. It was a good time. Things changed though when I got to 13. My mom got cancer, and after a few months, she passed away from the cancer. And this was a massive sort of turning point for me, because obviously my mom was my everything. And looking back, I distinctly remember almost like a shadow coming over those years, over my life, and I just became really, really angry. And that anger sort of came out in different ways, but I became quite hard and calloused to things in life then. It was just a difficult time. I was transitioning from primary school to secondary, and my mum, before she had passed away, she had wanted me to go to a better school than what everyone else was going to. So I'd gone to this better school, and I had no friends. No one could sort of relate. I couldn't relate to anyone. It was a really tough time. All my friends were at another school. So it just wasn't a great time in my life. And it was at that stage, when I was at that age, my early teenage years, I obviously hanging around the wrong crowd. The area that I grew up in just mainly had wrong crowds. It wasn't a great area at all. And I just, obviously started drinking a lot, started fighting a lot, started doing drugs, smoking a lot of weed and this type of thing. And pretty soon, my life sort of became, how do I say this? Basically, the crowd that I was running around with, we developed quite a reputation for ourselves. I mean, we would go to parties and clear out parties and fight a lot, and just drinking a lot, and we just developed quite a reputation about ourselves. And to be honest, I thrived at that reputation. At that age, I thought, it gave me some sort of identity, and I loved it. And I mean, I think for the first 2 to 3 years, I mean, we were almost living this kind of rock star, tough guy kind of lifestyles. But for the first 1 or 2 years, it's all good. But when you look again and you're living that kind of life in the area that I grew up in, with the crowd that I was running around in, it wasn't long before the drinking and the smoking weed progressed into doing heroin and doing crack. And it wasn't long before I found myself on those two drugs. At the time, the two most addictive drugs you could get, and I got myself hooked on both of them. And that's when the lights, the flashiness and all that sort of fade, because you can't even go to these house parties anymore because you're too busy trying to score, and things just start getting real pretty quickly. To support this habit, you're stealing from home, you're stealing from work, you're snatching bags outside of clubs, and you end up on the street just because you can't be at home, because you've either stolen from home or you just can't score at home. So you've got to be out on the street, you've got to be hustling, you've got to be out trying to find your next fix, And this period goes on for a long time. You're sort of on the streets and for a week or two or a month, and then you get arrested, and then you come out and you end up in a rehab, and you come back out of that and you clean for about a week, and then you're back in the rehab again, and these are the sort of fine line years, I think, of an addict's life. This went on for a few years, and things just progressively get worse. At any point in these days, you could die at any given moment, whether from an overdose or if you've double-crossed someone and you've got guns at you. I mean, I had one friend shooting another friend over a 2-pound stick of weed, you know, and I had the gun, I had to go and hide the gun, and just crazy things happen on a daily and a weekly basis, life and death things that can happen. I mean, the amount of times that I had turned and run from someone trying to shoot me, and you just, as you're running, you're waiting for that click to go, and nothing happens. I don't know why. For me, nothing. I don't know. I could just, in hindsight now, to look back, and I think obviously God had His hand on my life. But those are the years in addiction where, death is around the corner. After a few years of this, of being, you know, multiple rehabs and institutions and all sorts of facilities that I was in, I was in a holding cell on the other side of the country from where I grew up, and I was in a holding cell with a whole bunch of other guys, and I was waiting to appear in court. And I remember sitting there praying to a God I didn't really know then, just asking Him. All I wanted was a normal life. I didn't want anything flashy. I just wanted to be able to live a normal life, have a job, pay my rent, buy groceries, just have a normal life, you know. And if I push my luck, maybe one day I could have a family. And that was 16 years ago on the 1st of August, and God didn't just give me that. He gave me so much more. I mean, I've got a beautiful family now. I'm a completely different person. I'm unrecognizable from what I used to be, the way I look, the way I speak, the way, just everything. And He's given me, I'm part of His kingdom, and that in itself just brings me daily joy, just being part of His eternal kingdom, just the inner peace and joy that gives me. And I think, you know, it's a lot of people sometimes say to me, or maybe, you know, a few more years down the line or whatever, you would have come to your senses and you would have turned things around, and that's definitely not. It was only God that could have done what He did in my life. I did not have the willpower to stop the drugs. And I think given another year, I would have either been dead or ended up with a long prison sentence. But there was no way me that sort of sorted myself out. And I often look back at just how real God was to me then. You know, even in moments now, 16 years later, that, you know, you go through moments where you're like, where are you, God? And I often look back in those times because God was more real to me than the pair of jeans that I've got on, you know. So that often stirs my faith. But yeah, for me, once I came out of that situation where God answered the prayer, I came back to Cape Town where I grew up, and I went to another rehabilitation center there, and I was there for 2 years. And this was a Christian facility, because I knew then that I needed to go to some sort of Christian facility, because I knew that was God that saved me, and I just wanted more of that, you know. So I went to a Christian facility. I was there for 2 years. I actually ended up working there. And in that 2 years, I think a scary thing for addicts is that you don't know, you want to be clean, but you don't know how to live like a normal person knows how to live. You've been doing it for so long that it becomes just the norm. So that transition was big for me. It was scary. But I was fortunate enough to be in a facility for 2 years where it sort of eased me back into society. But the Word, since I've been saved and since I've been clean, I've read a lot, and God's Word, the Bible, has been probably the biggest thing that has kept me going, really. Just the truth of His Word, the principles in His Word, just the life that His Word brings me has been something that's really got me through the years. I've fallen in love with His Word, and through His Word I've fallen in love with His church, and through His church has given me life. I've met my wife in church, and He's placed all these things in my life that have kept me going, really. But yeah, that's pretty much my story, summarized. Yeah.